all lies will be exposed.
Ha ha. Let's try that again one more time, shall we? Oh, yeah. Okay. Hey, everyone. Sorry there was no morning show. I had to take care of some important administrative business side of things as well as other issues as well, because after all, this is Hard Lens Media. So good to have all of you here. Welcome, everybody, to the show. So, just real quick again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining Hard Lens Media. We are really, 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 really glad to have all of you here. So without further ado, since I'm in charge of the ones and twos, there's a lot to talk about. So again, sorry that there wasn't a morning show. Again, had to do some work. But it is great to see everyone tuning in here on YouTube and on Rumble and on all of our other social media platforms. So there you go. We're also live on Kick and on X as well. And don't worry, we will have a show tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. It's just sometimes, folks, when there's some business stuff I have to do the work. And sometimes it will cut into the show, but they're few and far between. And I always follow through with a promise. And why not do a live stream, then talk about and give my commentary and analysis on something that, you know what? I was a little bit wrong on. I was expecting a Cuomo victory. I was. Not because I support Cuomo or anything like that, but it's just more of, wow, he lost. And you know what? In New York City, I'll say it for this one day. I'll eat some New York style pizza and say it's okay, but just for this one day. Just for my friends at Do Dissidents, Larry Sharp and Jose Vega. There you go. How's that sound? At least just for this one day. Now, there's a lot of opinions that I have in regards towards, and especially to this recent turn of events. So, just glad that glad to have all of you here. So everyone's saying no Cuomo, no Cuomo, no Cuomo. Well, let's talk about what went down, especially what happened last night. I know Due Dissidence was covering it, so I think it's only fair that we at least bring up this article here. So first of all, again, if you're just tuning in, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit the ring bell notification. That way all of you are made aware when we upload new content on our channel or when we go live, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central Sharp. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's get to it with the story that is shaking the political landscape in New York City. So, New York State Assembly member Zohran Mamdani's victory over disgraced former governor Andrew Cuomo, his brother Fredo must be crying, in New York City's Democrat mayoral primary was quickly dismissed by some commentators as one that likely wouldn't be replicated in federal elections, and that said little about the views of Democrat voters at large. But the news that Cuomo had conceded on Tuesday night left many progressives eager to continue the momentum started by Mamdani's campaign, one characterized by a laser-sharp focus on making life more affordable for working people, a rejection of the outsized influence of billionaires and corporations on elections, and a demand for the Democrat Party to end its insistence that popular economic justice proposals are impossible to achieve in the United States. So, this is, again, an article from, of course, Common Dreams. But I want to pause here for a second and really bring in something that is that should be addressed, because people have been comparing this election victory towards what happened here in Chicago in 2023 with the election of Mayor Brandon Johnson. I could say with confidence that there is a difference between Brandon Johnson and now primary winner Zohran Mamdani. There is a difference. However, the commonality is that both are part of the Democrat Party, and there's only so much one person can do, even if they're a mayor of a metropolitan city, or potentially, again, Zohran could be mayor of a metropolitan city like New York City or Chicago. And now, Brandon Johnson ran on progressive policies, and guess what? He has been nothing but a failure. Not that those policies were ever implemented, it's just that Brandon Johnson, when you become more hated than Lori Lightfoot, you are an all-star performer. And no, folks, do not compare him to being a progressive. He is somebody who talked a big game, can never follow through, and was nothing more than, well, a paper tiger. All right, but we'll be talking about Chicago in a little bit here. But everyone seems to be excited for Mamdani's victory, as they should, because this is a huge upset to Andrew Cuomo. However, that doesn't mean Cuomo's out of the game just yet, because the primary is over. Now comes the general election. And as we have covered, as have others have covered as well, that unfortunately, and this is going to give third parties a bad name, Cuomo and Eric Adams can potentially run as third-party independent candidates, which, hey, I'm willing to bet that they won't have to go through the hoops and the loops and the chutes and ladders of what third parties have to go through. So I'm willing to bet that Cuomo's experience running as a third party or independent candidate will be drastically different than, let's say, Jose Vega's independent run for Congress. I'm willing to bet that it will be night and day, and how much easier it will be for Cuomo to be on the ballot, that nobody's going to be challenging his ballot signatures. I mean, after all, New York State and Illinois and New York City and Chicago are very draconian and rough and aggressive towards third parties and independents. Just ask the Greens and Libertarians in both states. Just ask independents in both states. But continuing on, instead of viewing Mamdani's victory as an aberration, said a journalist and organizer, Matt Denver, the left should treat it as an earthquake that threatens the entire Democrat establishment. Really? Press X to doubt. And its prioritizing of wealthy donors over the needs of ordinary voters. The left everywhere must dedicate itself to an insurgency against Democrat incumbents. I've seen this before through Justice Democrats and brand new Congress. The Democratic establishment has lost credibility with its base in the face of a fascist threat. I wonder who he's talking about. The base is looking leftward for new leadership. We are the opposition party. So progressive observers urge potential primary challengers to look to other upcoming races in New York, and several expressing hope that New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, another mayoral candidate who was widely praised for boosting Mamdani's campaign by cross-endorsing with him, will continue his political career by fighting for a U.S. Senate or House seat. New York Democrat centrists, including Representative Dan Goldman and Senate Minority Leader Chucky Boy Schumer, were named as lawmakers Lander could challenge in a primary. Goldman is up for re-election in 2026, and Schumer could face a primary in 2028. So does that mean AOC is not going to do it? Or maybe run for president? House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who has angered progressive advocates during President Donald Trump's second term by complaining about their demands for the Democrats to act as an opposition party, and Representative Richie Torres, that's Jose Vega's best friend. Sorry, maybe I should be a little bit nicer, but no, that's Jose Vega's best friend in the whole wide world. Richie Torres, a vehement supporter of Israel, who attacked Mamdani and accused him of anti-Semitism when he spoke out in support of Palestinian rights, were also mentioned as incumbents who should be challenged. Mamdani won both Jeffries and Goldman's House district, according to a political analysis. Armin Thomas, not Thompson. My apologies. Organizer Aaron Rudenberg pointed to an article published by Politico last week detailing how 40% of Cuomo's endorsement came from lawmakers who had previously called for his resignation when he was accused of harassing more than a dozen women. Listen, New York City, I know we have our pizza wars, but hey, listen, we already know that Chicago has a superior pizza, but for this one day, Hardlens Media, hashtag will endorse New York style pizza for today. At least you guys made the right choice, because my goodness, those early polling numbers where Cuomo looked like the projected winner was very depressing to look at. And for those who did vote for Cuomo, did you honestly forget what he did as governor? Like, come on. I mean, I get it's a name that you know, and Chicago's and me as a Chicagoan and Chicago politics, like, we should be the last ones to be talking, but my God, even we wouldn't screw up that bad. And that's not saying much, okay? Because we're the world heavyweight champions in corruption. But let's go ahead and check out what was essentially, more or less, a huge shock to the entire political establishment. So let's go ahead and first bring up what really happened, and that is Cuomo giving his resignation and how he conceded.
Put forth, and I'm proud of the issues that we discussed. But tonight was not our night. Tonight was Assemblyman Mamdani's night, and he put together a great campaign, and he touched young people and inspired.
Horrible choice of words there.
Inspired them and moved them and got them to come out and vote. And he really ran a highly impactful campaign.
I'm going to rewind this, and I'm going to try and treat this segment as serious as possible. With William Charles, BB claims New York City will have a nuke in 3 to 5 years. William Charles, get up, go see the White House counselor. All right? What's wrong with some of y'all? BB say New York City will have a nuke in 3 to 5 years. What's wrong with you?
And inspired them and moved them and got them to come out and vote. And he really ran a highly impactful campaign. I called him. I congratulated him. I applaud him sincerely for his effort. And let's give him a round of applause and thank him for his campaign.
Now, here's the thing. There's always a bit of humor, and I love a bit of humor. So why not? This was a response from Brad Lander about Cuomo. Only 21 seconds.
Andrew Cuomo is in the past. He is not the present or future of New York City. Good fucking riddance.
You know what? Hey, I'm all on board with people laughing. I'm all on board with people laughing. Now, of course, CNN was quick to make a response about this as well, and I do want to pull up this video here, where in which they were reacting towards the information.
Ocasio-Cortez, remember, she beat House Dem Caucus Chair Joe Crowley and came out of basically nowhere to do it. And I think that is something that is going to be so important, is what stays in New York City or what happens in New York City. Does it stay in New York City? I'm not quite sure it necessarily does, Laura Coates.
Now, this is probably going to be a huge boost for Democrats, especially for their fundraising, because that's what they like to do. Democrats like to fundraise. However, let's be clear here. Some of the statements that came out of Mamdani's campaign or his stance on certain issues aren't really popular with the Democratic establishment. So many are probably wondering, well, is this the big fight, the big civil war needed to reform the Democrat Party? First of all, you have the head chair of the DNC who kicked out David Hogg, okay? David Hogg was trying to primary, incumbent Democrats that were mediocre and lackluster. And what was David Hogg's reward? Well, he learned the hard way that you can't reform the Democrat Party. You can't reform it. I mean, they're looking for good billionaires. They're looking for that billionaire cash money. And so long as Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Boy Schumer still have their influence, as well as other head party leaders, including the Clintons, the Obamas, and everybody else in between who has influence and power and money and connections, there's no way you're going to reform something that corrupt. Justice Democrats tried that. Brand New Congress tried that. Our Revolution tried that. DSA tried it. It's an impossible task because the institution is designed in a way to which it's going to cohabitate with the Republican Party, face and heel, just like the storylines that you saw from WCW, ECW, or WWE. You have the good guy and the bad guy. But it's the same cycle of poison. Team Red, Team Blue, that has successfully divided Americans for generations. Now you have Cenk Uygur's Rebellion PAC, and that's not going to go anywhere. The only thing that seems to be worse at salt right now is, of course, Fight the Oligarchy Tour, where you have AOC and Bernie Sanders doing it, giving people the hopium copium. But this is a blip on the radar. I remember when people were kind of suggesting that maybe Brandon Johnson's win in Chicago could potentially be a point in which the Democrats could be reformed, or either that might adopt progressive policies. Yeah, that didn't happen. And don't worry, we'll be bringing up Chicago because the Chicago Tribune wanted to warn New York City of having a socialist mayor. Please, everyone, stop calling, especially to my friends on the right, my fellow libertarians, my fellow Trump people. Please stop calling Chicago a communist city. I mean, it's not because it's hurting my feelings. It's because we're a neoliberal corporatist city. Communist city, I didn't get the memo. When did that happen? When did we get ice cream?
I want to bring in former Democratic Congressman Jamal Bowman. He endorsed Mamdani. How important is this win? Tell me about it.
I mean, it's incredibly important, not just for the city, but for our country. When you look at what's going on in Washington and the hate and the rhetoric and the vitriol that's coming from the Trump administration, and a Republican Party and an establishment, which includes the Democratic Party, that has not done a good job of really inspiring and motivating and getting people excited about our democracy. Zohran and his team, they have done that here in New York City. So, to have people excited and inspired about our democracy, that's exactly what we need right now, because we need as many people as possible to participate, to have a voice, to share their voices, to share their perspectives. And yes, affordability is something everyone should be running on, because
look, I understand. Look, I know there's a lot of progressives out there that are happy that Cuomo was defeated. I am happy too. And look, I'll apologize. I really thought that, the Democrat Party would weigh in and, voters would just go for a name that they knew. I was wrong. And you know something? This is a huge win in the primary. Remember now, it's a general election. Gloves are going to be off now. But I want to bring up something else here, because this was shared with me by a good friend of the show, Roger Meadows, right? And I think it's important that we see this message, because I've been through this before, as has JB and everyone else in independent media. And I want everyone, let's respect each other's opinions on this, because even I am hesitant to say, okay, great, Mamdani, you won the primary. Can you go forward? So let's go and talk about this. I'm sorry, but I still don't trust him. I feel like we've seen this play too many times before. He talks a good game, but we won't know until if he wins and after his first year or two of him running the city. I don't trust anyone in the duopoly, so you can understand my extreme caution. Very reasonable to have that extreme caution. Also, this can be a ploy to get some on the left to think reforming the system is a viable option, when in reality, the system must be demolished and rebuilt. This can also be a way to get some on the left to put their guard down and believe in saviors while we grow lax in our mutual aid and organizing efforts. Do not be fooled. Do not stop organizing, and keep doing mutual aid and building dual power. I don't want to see my fellow leftists become devastated if Mamdani sells out. Now, if I'm wrong, I will publicly say I was wrong about Zohran Mamdani. Hey, I'll be right there with you, JB, because I got the same concerns as well. I was on a show the other day talking about TRICARE, VA, and healthcare on his show. Again, be sure to subscribe to JB Font's show. He's doing a lot of good work. He's one of the dauntless few. The crazy part is, I hope I am wrong. I want to be wrong, but my intuition is screaming at me right now. I haven't said much on him, but I want to prepare you for what could happen, and I want you to stay revolutionary in your mindset in these next 18 to 24 months. Don't take your eye off the ball. I say this with love, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. To which, you know what? He's right. Now, Blue Moon, or Red Wine, Lucy Can 22 says, what if we can all band together on YouTube to ask him if he will promote our big bank boycott? We will see what he does before a general election. Give him an opportunity to win our vote while getting publicity on something important. To which Roger Meadows, good friend of the show, wrote this. I'm going to go further. Sorry, I didn't have that up earlier. I'm going to go further than that. How about we all get together and push him to lobby the state to pass the New York Public Banking Act that he was already a sponsor of in the state assembly in the years past. What it would do is give home rule to municipalities like New York City to charter their own public bank. In short, it would allow for the raising of revenue to finance infrastructure projects on the front end while building a surplus on the back end without having to create new taxes or raise existing taxes. Bill numbers, Senate or S1992 and A6268. If municipalities like New York City, when given permission to set up one here, is a blueprint to make sure it stays anchored to the community. To which I have to say, I agree. I'm in full agreement with Roger Meadows. Let's go ahead and try out Citizen Ballot Initiative. Let's try out and get him to sponsor this stuff. All right. I mean, now let's put our pressure on people like Mamdani and see if he will go all the way. Will he be consistent? Will he actually follow through? I want to see that happen.
People are struggling with childcare, utilities, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is an exciting, inspiring moment for New York, but also for the country as well.
Let's talk about that as well, if I follow up with you, Jamal, on this point, because as you know, Governor Cuomo, he was part of a political dynasty. He was, as I said, New York's governor for years until he resigned after sexual harassment allegations. So what does this say about how voters are feeling more broadly, even perhaps across the country, about establishment leaders?
Now, remember, Bowman, we asked you to fight for forced to vote. I almost want to say, how dare you? How dare you, sir, speak? Because we asked him to fight and he said no.
You know, voters, I think for many years have been communicating that they want a new vision for the country. They want change. They don't want to continue to support and vote for establishment politics. They don't want to vote for corruption. They don't want to vote for someone who was accused of sexual assault of 13 women. They want to vote for a new hope and a new path forward. They've been saying that for quite some time. I mean, even Trump supporters, many of them support him because he communicates change. And so change is great, but now for Zohran and his team and all of us here in New York, we have to show not just that we can win a general, but that we can govern a city like New York. And I think when the country sees that progressives actually know how to govern, it's not just ideas, it's not just a political imagination, it's also that we are the wealthiest city and the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. We can reallocate our resources to ensure that we have universal child care.
Where was this fight and energy in the Senate and the House? Where was this? Were you too busy pushing on fire alarms? Where was this? Where was this guy? He talks a good game, doesn't he, everybody? Hey, folks, don't you like this game that this guy's talking about? Wouldn't you vote for him and not be tricked? Not be tricked because, hey, we don't have politicians that lie to us all the time. We don't have politicians that constantly make these promises and then say, whatever. Never forget, I got to find that video again where Roger Meadows confronted Jamal Bowman. Roger Meadows, homework assignment right now. If you could find me that video again where you confronted him, please send it my way. Please send it my way because I think people forgot how this guy was like when he was in Congress. Because he's talking a whole other different game here right now.
And affordable housing and free and fair buses and the things that working class people want, because working class people have been working their entire lives simply to survive. It's time to help them put a couple dollars on the side, maybe invest, maybe start a business, maybe take a vacation. And it's time for us to go to a place where not just the billionaires are winning, but the working class people who build the wealth of this country are actually winning as well.
I'll be very eager to hear what he has to say after this victory tonight, the concession.
Yes, of course. So now this was, of course, the reaction on the night of. However, there was a response. Even Eric Adams had to respond. Eric Adams calls Zohran Mamdani a snake oil salesman. And the thing is, look, remember, the establishment Democrats are going to be yelling back and pushing back against progressives. This is something, we always know. But we've always been disappointed by progressives as well. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen a quote-unquote progressive get into office and then all of a sudden fart in our general direction and dismiss us.
Candidate, Democratic Socialist. He wants to freeze the rent. He wants city-run grocery stores, social workers to replace the police because that's going to help. He wants $60 billion.
See, this video's been
$1 billion of debt fund for affordable housing. He wants free buses, no cost for childcare, baby baskets for newborn, and a $30 minimum wage.
I don't know. It seems pretty nice since the bankers get bailed out. Wall Street gets bailed out. We have money for Ukraine. We have money for Israel for their wars. I don't know. Controversial statement here. When's the American people going to get a bailout? I'm just throwing it out there. And look, listen, I'm all for people, again, uplifting themselves, starting their own business, entrepreneurship programs. But I mean, seriously, we're crapping out money for wars and bailing out the banks and Wall Street. I kind of would like if our city, county, state, federal elected officials would actually invest in the American people. I mean, what a sight that would be to uplift the American people. What a sight that would be. That would be ever so nice. But to quote Lopan, seeing these bastards in Wall Street always get bailed out really pisses me off. Indeed.
How can someone vote for this?
He's a snake oil salesman. Mm-hmm. He will say and do anything to get elected. Think about this for a moment. He wants to raise 1%. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New Yorkers' high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that. You know who has the authority to do that? An assemblyman, which he is. He wants to do free buses. He could have done it at assemblyman. He doesn't understand the power of government and how you must making sure you improve your economy, raise the standard of living. And this is what we've done in the city. And I'm looking forward to being on the campaign trail and showing New Yorkers we can't go backwards. And New Yorkers never surrender or quit. I'm never going to quit for the city that I love.
That is so interesting. You're in the position, so you know you don't have the authority to do that. Yet he's running on all these promises he's not going to be able to fulfill. And
Yes, exactly. Because there is always that question of can he fulfill those promises? And look, Roger Meadows, good friend of the show, and again, resident of New York City, do not count Cuomo out. He has already set himself up to run as a no party in the general. And I'm willing to bet, Roger, and I'll even say this to Larry Sharp, Jose Vega, and to good friends of the show, Do Dissidents, that Cuomo will have no problems whatsoever getting on the ballot. Anyone else that's a libertarian or green or independent in New York City or New York State is going to be looking at Cuomo and be like, how come you were having such an easy time getting on the ballot? Like, I'm willing to bet Cuomo's not going to have any problem, like, at all. Like, nothing. No problem. It's going to be a cakewalk for him. It's going to be like a buffet cakewalk, all right? It's going to be like Gordon Ramsay set up a whole buffet of wonderful pastries and other delicious sweets, and Cuomo's just going to be there munching them and all. It's going to be an easy cakewalk for him because after all, if you think the rules apply to those who are part of the establishment, you're gravely mistaken. All right, the laws of the land do not apply to people like Cuomo. He did that prior to the primary, learned the lessons of Buffalo mayoral 2021 race. Again, Roger Meadows, if you could send me a reference of that mayoral race in 2021, I would like to see that with my own two eyes, please, with the cherry on top. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe because apparently YouTube doesn't like us anymore. Maybe YouTube doesn't like us anymore. Maybe. But also, CNBC had a panic attack. I'm going to try not to laugh. We must be mature, my brothers and sisters. We must be mature here.
You know what? The new mayor potentially of New York is going to freeze the rents and everybody eats for free. So they don't have to worry.
Really?
Yeah.
But how about the rich?
No.
Do they
no.
get shot?
No, yes. They get taken
Are we
away.
kulaks?
Yes, they
Is
get
this
taken away.
Lenin
We have to go.
in 23?
We have to leave now.
I'm not
But
John
everybody
Lennon.
else, there he is.
Is this Lenin? 2020? No! This isn't Lenin. Look, he won the primary. You don't know. You don't know. You do not know if he's going to win the general election. Because remember, Cuomo is going to run as a no party. So is Eric Adams. So it's not over yet. It's the primary still. Stop panicking. Stop panicking. Calm down. Breathe. Do some yoga. Walk around. See the neighborhood. Drink water. But keep your head on a swivel, like I always say. Is this Lenin? Believe you me, you know if it's Lenin, okay? You know if you're going to get a Soviet photograph. Okay, hold on. If I'm going to be making a reference, All right, so what do I mean by Soviet photograph? Well, there have been two movies done about the last day of the Tsar and his and the Russian royalty. And I think one movie in particular, they were captured. Their Soviet captors wanted to have them take a photograph and said to the family, hey, stay together in one room. Get together. Guy walks out. 6 guys come in, pull out some revolvers, and then bang, 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 bang. And that's what you call a Soviet photograph. Let's just say it didn't end too well for the Tsar and the royal family, okay? For those of you who don't know, did the Russian family get avenged? No, they did not. There was a thing called the Soviet Union that replaced the Russian Empire. Anyways, little history lesson here. But no, this isn't Lenin 2025.
No.
Do they get shot?
No, yes. They get taken
Are we
away.
kulaks?
Yes, they
Is
get
this
taken away.
Lenin
We have to go.
in 23?
We have to leave now.
I'm not
But
John
everybody
Lennon.
else, there he is. Mamdani.
Maybe he's more moderate
winning
than we
the
think.
Democratic primary for mayor and potentially the successor of Eric Adams. That said, there's still a general election to come here in New York. By the way, of course, we're here. We talk about it, but we are talking about a $2 trillion economy. It's not nothing.
It is a,
he wants to get the rents down. One good way to do it is to stop all business and drive everybody out. That'll bring the rents down.
That's a very good point. Right? Go to Jersey, where I am.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk.
Gotham. Have you seen what Batman is up against in Gotham and what his...
God damn it! Talking about Batman, you know. Let's be clear about Batman, okay? It's listen. All of his villains, most of Batman's villains, if not his entire rogues gallery, are crackheads, okay? All of Batman's villains are crackheads, okay? Ra's al Ghul, old crackhead. Joker, crackhead who fell in a vat of acid and laughs at things that aren't funny. Catwoman, who steals things, but Batman lets her go because she probably gives him a happy ending here and there, all right? Scarecrow, scary crackhead. I mean, all of Batman's rogues gallery, all right? All these people are like individuals who are mentally ill. Batman beats up on the mentally ill and disabled. That's who Batman is. He doesn't stop the drug dealers or the people that cause things to happen. Anyways. Maybe I should keep my opinions to myself about Batman, okay? Maybe I should keep my opinions of Batman about myself. All right. There we go. All right. But yes, most of Batman's rogue galleries, all of them are crackheads. Okay. There.
What Batman is up against in Gotham and what the guy running for mayor is up against. That's what it reminds me of. They're taking Wall Streeters and make him walk out onto the ice in the East River as and then they fall through.
Yep.
I mean, there is a class warfare that's going.
So what's happened here, I think, is
the rich type.
There's a division within the Democrats.
I know. It's always, they're afraid about eating the rich. There's a little bit more to this video. I want to give a shout out to Case Study QB, who put up the whole video.
I don't want to go here, but Gotham. Have you seen what Batman is up against in Gotham?
As I said before, Batman's rogue gallery. Nothing but crackheads, okay? All of them. People who are mentally ill or disabled or rejects of society. Batman beats up on poor homeless people.
Gotham and what the guy running for mayor is up against. That's what it reminds me of. They're taking Wall Streeters and make him walk out onto the ice in the East River as and then they fall through. I mean, there is a class warfare that's going.
So what's happened here, I think,
is the rich type.
There's a division within the Democratic Party in New York City and New York State, and it's emblematic of the division that we see nationally. How far left does the Democratic Party want to go?
We had Kathy Wild sitting in the chair you were.
They haven't gone left. All right. All this panic about the Democrats going left. They're going to go left. Show me. This is just a primary win. Are you easily that triggered by it? Okay. Right now, it's going to be the general election. Everyone's panicking that Mamdani is going to somehow upend New York City. New York City. Listen. The whole country's going broke because we're doing nothing but bailing out banks and Wall Street, and we're doing nothing but supporting foreign wars. Everybody calm down. See, this is how corporate media operates. They scare people, all right? They scare people.
In yesterday, and she said the business community is terrified. I mean, describing it almost as a panic attack. And so the question is, what happens next? And what do you think the business community does? What does a former mayor of Bloomberg do with his money? He's, of course, been supporting somebody like an Andrew Cuomo.
I don't think you have to look past money here. Okay. I mean, the Cuomo PAC raised something like $25 million. He lost in the first round.
His ascension, effectively, is a indictment of the way the quote-unquote establishment in New York has approached this city and its citizens.
I think that every once in a while the establishment gets surprised. We saw it with AOC beating Joe Crowley, who was in line to be Speaker of the House. But I think if you looked at the underlying trends of this race, it was very clear it was a two-person race and that race tightened considerably. And the people need, competency is a great quality, and Andrew Cuomo has it in spades. However, it doesn't motivate people to the polls. And the public polls call people and they ask people, who are you going to vote for? But they misjudged the enthusiasm that Mamdani's supporters had. And Cuomo just didn't have people that were willing to, leave their houses and residences and go vote for him. And I think that, ability of Mamdani to bypass the media and speak directly to people was really compelling.
But you think he's the next mayor?
If you had to bet today, it's highly likely he'll be the next mayor.
again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Of course, de Blasio also weighed in regards towards the results that did take place for the election. So let's go ahead and pull this video up here as well. Sorry about that, folks.
So you do right now, as you're saying this, and I should note that you are urging people not to rank former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He was they were the two front runners going into this, it seemed like, based on the polling. But you do think that ultimately he's going to pull it out here based on what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, Caitlin, I think it's a combination. I did not expect Zohran to be leading with the overall number one votes. You know, with our ranked choice system, the number one votes tell you something, but they don't tell you the whole thing. I did not expect him to be leading at the end of election night. I think this is a stunning result. I think the early votes, who they came from, where they come from, are staggering. We've never seen anything like it. Now, also, we have to reflect what's happened here. Zohran ran a positive campaign talking about affordability. Cuomo ran a very negative, fear-based campaign. This has made a huge difference. People at this point in New York City, they are hurting for sure, but they didn't just want to hear how bad everything was. They wanted to have some sense of hope, some sense of solution and vision. And I think the big story here is Zohran Mamdani as a person came across as a much more likable person, a much more connected person in terms of everyday New Yorkers, but he also spoke of going somewhere good, not just what a horrible situation we're in and, you know, keep the negative influences away. He actually created a vision of something positive that could change in the city.
Now, again, people do want to hear some hope. People do want to hear some change. Now, I want to pull up this article here. This is from my neck of the woods, from the Chicago Tribune. Editorial: want to know how a socialist mayor would govern New York City? Ask Chicago. All right, look. All right. To my fellow Trumpers out there, to my fellow libertarians, please, 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 stop calling Chicago communist city, because I don't like it when you had the latte drinking liberals calling Trump supporters or independent or third party voters fascists or Trump, just or any other derogatory name. Because guess what? Chicago isn't a communist city, and Mayor Brandon Johnson is not a socialist mayor. Okay, he ain't. He was more than happy to work with the Democratic establishment. Look at how he ran the DNC convention here in Chicago. There was nothing socialist about it. There was nothing communist about it. There was nothing Marxist about it. There was nothing Leninist about it. There was nothing, okay? Nothing ever resembling anything like that. It was Democrat Party through and through, established neoliberal policies. All right, how do I know? Because Hardlands Media was there. Me and Daniel were there at the DNC convention. We saw it firsthand. It was mediocre. I'll never forget Jimmy Dore when he did one of his live streams, said, "I can't believe it. The Democrats are wasting all this money on all this BS. Do dissidents." Well, Russell was here, not Keaton. All right, I think Keaton might have been overwhelmed by Chicago-style pizza, so there you go. But anyways. And of course, Roman Nick from RBN were here, all right? So anybody who was anybody in our sphere of the independent media community, we were here. There was nothing communist or socialist about Mayor Brandon Johnson, anything about that whatsoever, because I want to pull up something here, and Roger Meadows shared something with me, and I think it's imperative that we do have a conversation and share this. So I want to pull up this tab here. I am pausing it, but he says, how is it that Republicans are so much better at making communism work in service than for the Democrats? That's right. That's right, Republican Party. Gobble gobble. You become communist. Boom. 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 There you go. All right. Don't comment on my rings. Don't comment that I'm gorgeous. Don't comment on it. Come on. You know it. Anyways, let's pull this up here. So, yes, Nebraska has. Come on, Roger Meadows. Don't be playing pause yet. Yes, Nebraska has unique state electricity system, and in that all electric utilities are publicly owned, a distinction no other U.S. state shares. This means Nebraska's electricity is managed by public entities like the Nebraska Public Power District, the NPPD, municipal utilities, and public power districts, rather than private investor-owned companies. Wow. Look at this. So let's go ahead and play it for all the lovely people to see. Look at this. Nebraska's electricity is 100% owned. And while we're looking at this wonderful video, I'm just going to look at this here real quick because hey, we're going to be checking this thing out as a family should. Look a little bit more into this. Look at this. It's publicly owned. Omaha Public. Omaha, how are you? Lincoln Electric System. Man, look at this. Look at how great it is. Look at how great the lineup is. And speaking of which, majority of the state legislature, majority of it, Republican. You have 33 Republicans and 15 Democrats and 1 independent Democrat. I mean, look at this. That's incredible. The Republican Party has succeeded in making hashtag conservative communism. Go at it. And hey, look, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me at this. Because all this talk about, New York City or Chicago being communist. I mean, here is the state legislature. Yes, it's from Wikipedia. I know. Please put down your tomatoes, all right? Save them for BLTs. But look at this. That's the legislator made up right there. All this talk about communism. And yes, this is, again, from the Chicago Tribune. Oh, beware of socialism. Well, gee, Nebraska seems to have figured it out. How'd they do it? Just looking at a little bit more here. All this talk about communism, being afraid. Everyone stop being afraid. It's not the end of the world, at least not yet. Don't worry, the nukes haven't been dropped yet. No nukes have been dropped yet. No nukes have been dropped yet. So check this out. Context. Nebraska's public power system reflects a form of state electricity control as the state legislature and public entities govern utility operations. Unlike states where private companies answer to shareholders, this system was created to avoid monopolistic practices and ensure rural electrification. Ooh la la. If you meant something specific by state electricity, please clarify. See, there you go. Shout out to Grox. Look at that. Thank you, Grox. I know there's a lot of concern about AI. I know there is. But this is incredible. You also have, again, more stuff like in Tennessee where they have figured out, again, how to have public utility internet and so much more. Look at that. Fiber to home. Wouldn't that be great if we actually had fast internet? As somebody who's seen fast internet before, in a country that invests in internet infrastructure, Japan had us beat light years, and that was in 2020. I only can imagine just how advanced their systems have gotten now. And when I was leaving Japan, they were investing into their public infrastructure, such as their train system, all right? And their train system already has Chicago's and Illinois' system beaten by light years. So just let's go ahead and talk about it, because we got to talk about Chicago. There's all this fear that, oh no, here comes communism, here comes socialism, here comes this, and here comes that, and oh no, look out. A major city, a heated mayoral election, a familiar dilemma, a moderate business-friendly Democrat versus Democrat socialist. New Yorkers, take it from Chicago. We've seen this movie before, and the ending isn't pretty. Chicago Tribune, why? New Yorkers will cast their ballots Tuesday in New York's mayoral primary, where 11 candidates are vying to win the Democrat primary in America's largest city. Frontrunner and former New York governor Andrew Cuomo is in a tight race against New York State Assembly member Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani wants to freeze rent, open city-owned grocery stores, provide bus service for free, tax corporations, and the 1% to increase the minimum wage to $30 an hour. Sounds good. Among other left-wing propositions that differ from Cuomo. Most of Mamdani's ideas are shared, at least in principle, by Mayor Brandon Johnson. Yeah, but Brandon Johnson never follows through. He's just a moron that is more hated than Lori Lightfoot. All right? The guy stands for nothing. I can't stress this out enough. If you become more hated than Lightfoot and people might look back fondly and remember Lightfoot, that means you're a terrible candidate. Brandon Johnson has failed with his policies. He never even fought for his progressive policies. He was called out by everybody. The only reason why he won is because people hated Lightfoot so much. And his opponent was a moron. Just throwing it out there. Okay? Just everybody, calm down. Johnson tried to float a $300 million tax hike, which we were against. Harlan's media spoke out against that tax hike. He tried to pass a mansion tax that would have hiked the real estate transfer tax and failed. He built too few affordable housing units for too much money because he's never done that. He had no idea what he was doing. He kept people part of Rahm Emanuel and Lightfoot's administration still on board. He didn't bring in his own people. He kept people from the last two administrations on board. That's the one thing you don't do. All right? Am I the only one that read The Prince? You have to bring in your own people that will fight for your agenda. That's Politics 101. Please read The Prince. It's actually a very good book. I read it occasionally because you want people that are going to fight for you. Brandon Johnson kept people from the last two administrations. Yeah, that was going to work out well. Just breathe in, breathe out, kid. Don't get angry. Don't get mad, kid. Be happy. Be happy, kid. Come on. Come on, kid. Just be happy. He isolated himself from many of the state and federal officials he hopes will come to his rescue because he's dumb. Again, dumb. He's done egregious special favors for the people who got him elected, namely pushing an incredibly costly new contract with Chicago Teachers Union. He forced out highly competent schools chiefs who wouldn't cow to his desire to bow recklessly. His city is broke, and he wants to spend more. The list goes on. Yes, Brandon Johnson also failed drastically as a sanctuary city mayor, okay? Johnson's approval rating cratered in his second year, a reflection of how quickly progressive promises collapse under the weight of governance and Chicago's financial reality. Because he should not have kept on board with the sanctuary city, he should not have kept on board with Rahm Emanuel and Lightfoot's policies, but he did because, as I said before, he kept people from those two previous administrations in key positions of power. What sounded good in theory has translated into dysfunction. It's always been dysfunctional, Chicago Tribune, driven by fiscal missteps and political inexperience. Johnson is one of the most progressive mayors in the U.S. No, he is not. Stop saying that. My God, what is wrong with you? In the end, the New York mayoral race will likely will come down to voter turnout. Unfortunately, like most places, voter participation in New York has steadily declined, just like in Chicago, dropping from 93% of registered voters in 1953 to 57% in 1993, and just over 20% of registered voters in the 2021 mayoral election. A new Mars College poll shows Cuomo leading Mamdani 55 to 45. Yep, that didn't happen, did it? However, the same poll finds Mamdani with a 34-point average advantage over Cuomo among voters under 45, and young voters have turned out during early voting. The wild card is cross-endorsement. Mamdani and fellow candidate Brad Lander have done just that, a bid to take down Cuomo. Unlike Chicago's nonpartisan system runoff, New York uses ranked choice voting, allowing voters to list up to 5 candidates in order of preference. If no candidate gets a majority of first votes, the one with the fewest is eliminated, and those ballots are redistributed to voters' next choices. The process repeats until one candidate receives more than 50% and is declared winner. I think that's far better than what Chicago has. Now, I'm just going to say something here. Nonpartisan runoff. That means if you're running for mayor in Chicago, you don't put that big Democrat D, or use it at the shriveled up blue Democrat D around your neck until after you won. Just because you might be running for Chicago mayor doesn't mean you can be pulling out of the D, okay? The D is going to go in deep. The Democrat logo will be branded on you in one form or another. Be it a mushroom stamp to the head, a brand to the wazoo, you decide. But nobody runs for Chicago mayor without getting the D, okay? That's what happens. That's what's always going to happen. Just throwing it out there, which is why I'm very curious to see how Flip Chicago Red or Isodet, third parties like Libertarians and Greens, will be participating in the 2027 Chicago election. Okay? And I think Chicago could definitely use a change in our system like ranked choice voting. We're intrigued by New York's ranked choice voting process, which offers voters a chance to express their preferences more fully and encourages candidates to pursue broader support than do traditional voting process. The turnout for the mayoral primary in Chicago was abysmally low. Just 36% of registered voters cast the ballot in the 2023 primary. We blame that in part of the city's decision to hold these primary elections during the harshest weather we faced all year, in the heart of February. Yes, the cold months of February. Though vote by mail exists as a remedy for folks who don't wish to brave the cold on their way to the polls. Low turnout makes it easier for radicals to capture public office. And that's a mistake we hope New Yorkers don't make. If New Yorkers are frustrated with Mayor Eric Adams, they should be careful not to trade him for somebody who might preside over a city is less competitive and less financially secure. Trust us, we're living in that reality. Here's the reality. Here's the reality of it, okay? Here's the real. Chicago does not have a socialist mayor, and Mamdani just won the primary. I want to pull up another video here that's showing, more or less, overall, how people are reacting to the polls. And I want to pull this up here because it has to deal with more numbers. Let's play this.
Republican, now running as a Democrat. And here we are in New York City, very left progressive, could be the nominee here.
And a former independent. I am not surprised whatsoever by this result.
Tell us why.
Steph, we are in the midst of a generational change environment. We're seeing that in the special elections. We're going into the 6th year of a presidency, but it is fueled by a generational affordability crisis in which voters are holding incumbents accountable and they want change. And the fascinating thing here, some would say, oh, Jolly, he might be a centrist Dem. I'm not at all worried about Mamdani winning as a super progressive in the city.
Explain this to me. I honestly, I thought this was going to be bad news for you.
This is a Democratic Party that is offering change in different parts of the country to attack the affordability crisis where voters are holding incumbents responsible. In Florida, that's a supermajority Republican legislature and a Republican governor, and Florida voters want change. It might be a socialist Democrat in the city here because they want change. But here's the fascinating thing. This is a unified Democratic Party that's big enough for David Jolly and Mamdani and Andy Bashir and others because it knows the opportunity to apply democratic values in this moment of change is what actually allows us to win and to change policy. What we all agree on, Mamdani, Jolly, Bashir, Booker, everyone else, the economy should work for everybody, the government should serve its people, and everyone should be welcomed, celebrated, and lifted up regardless of where you were born, who you love, who you worship, or the color of your skin.
All that sounds good on paper, but the real truth is that right now, if progressives really think that this is the time and opportunity to really try and shake things up and bring in change for the Democrat Party, well, then the Democrats, or either that Mamdani, is going to have to actually be that person to challenge the Democrats. He's going to have to, and again, this goes also for other progressives too, because I've seen this story before trying to reform the Democrat Party. This is how people get suckered in and once again vote Democrat, and we're right back here at the process. I saw this happen in 2016. I saw it happen in 2020. I saw it happen during the 2018 midterm election cycle. I saw this happen during the 2022 midterm election cycle, and I saw all those progressive heavyweight champions from all times, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022, all fall in line and fall behind Joe Biden, and then later on, Kamala Harris. All right. And after November 5th in 2024, as we predicted here at Hardlands Media, Donald Trump destroyed the Democrats. Democrats lost the U.S. House and Senate. They also lost the presidency, and pretty much the brand was damaged, okay? Now, I'm going to sit here and say everybody was correct about calling out the Democrats, and there was a chance that Democrats could have changed course if they listened to voters, perhaps if Bernie Sanders had a backbone, but no. Now, Mamdani can only do so much, and I don't think he has what it takes. And if I'm wrong about it, I'll apologize. I don't think he has what it takes to really reform the Democratic Party. Or either that maybe there's going to be a spark coming from New York City. We'll see. Give it a chance? Fine. Fine. We'll see what happens. He still has to face off against Cuomo. Cuomo's not going to give up. He's got too much money behind him. At this point, it's a matter of pride. Just like how I said in 2020 after Trump was defeated by Biden, that Trump was going to run again in 2024. It's about name and pride and ego. So we'll see what happens during the general election, whether or not there'll be a high voter turnout. You already see corporate media trying to smear Mamdani. You already see him calling it. You have Eric Adams calling him a snake oil salesman. You have an editorial from the Chicago Tribune saying, "Oh, beware of the communist utopia because we're living in it in Chicago." No, what we are living through in Chicago is the failed years of neoliberalism that has been the power office of Chicago mayor. From Old Man Daley to Rahm Emanuel to Lightfoot and under Brandon Johnson, as well as the incompetence of our own city government. All right? Those policies are the reason why things are bad in Chicago and people are being kicked down. As a matter of fact, they're being curb stomped. So Mamdani winning the primary. He won the primary. Election ain't over yet. But what matters now, especially for progressives and independents in New York City, you should be happy. I'm not going to take it away from you. But how far is your guy willing to go to fight for your city? New York City, just like Chicago, is suffering from gentrification. The rent is too damn high. All right. The cost of living, too damn high. Right now in Illinois, especially in Chicago, we're being hit with more taxes. If your guy's really going to fight, I got to see it. I got to see it for myself. And I don't think you could reform a party like the Democrats. It's a way to get people to get suckered into the duopoly. I hope that there is a chance, but hope in one hand, crap in the other, see which one fills up faster. Democrats, voters, prepare to be disappointed in Mamdani if he chooses to sell out or can't follow through with his promises. There's only so much that can be done. In all reality, the best way to implement change is through citizen ballot initiatives, building movements and organizations not connected to third parties, supporting independent third parties. That's the way you bring in change. We can't just vote our way out of this and then hope a savior comes along. We should have learned that lesson in 2016. Let's not repeat the same mistakes over and over again. And with that being said, folks, I know this was just going to be a short commentary video. I wanted to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I want to definitely give a huge shout out to my moderators. Shout out to the people on Kick. Shout out to my people on X. Shout out to my people Rumble in the jungle. Much love to my Rumble people. There you go. I'm glad that the heat wave is over. Please, everyone, stay cool and drink that water as you should. All right. And JB is right. We've seen this movie before from Natalie Williams. So shout out to all my moderators keeping the peace. And if you want to help out Hardlands Media, if you do want to help out Hardlands Media, please definitely consider. And I would greatly appreciate it if you did. Go in our description box and support us. Our Linktree, YouTube, X, Rumble, Kick, Patreon, Substack, Discord, Instagram. Follow us on all of our social medias. It keeps the show alive. Also, hey, here we are, Patreon. Consider supporting the show. You get your name read on the show and consider being a patron supporter. You are keeping us alive. And also, we're very active on X, and pinned to X is a link to our GoFundMe. Hardlands Media is in the fight for its life. We have we got some legal fights up ahead of us, and our goal is to get to $50,000 and more, higher than that, unfortunately. And if we can get to this goal, it will definitely secure us for this long-term fight that we are in. So please consider supporting Hardlands Media GoFundMe. Any support, any super chat, please use the link that's pinned in our YouTube live stream link or in our Rumble live stream link, or either that. Go to X. There you see our pinned tweet. It's also on Facebook and on Instagram as well. Please help us out on all of our social media platforms. We even posted it on our YouTube community page as well. Any support, any donation is greatly appreciated. I love what we do here. I know that we have truth and justice on our side, and all the solidarity and support that we are getting from all of our viewers means the world to me. But we do need to raise up the funds necessary to defend ourselves. So please consider supporting Hardlands Media GoFundMe. I just want our lives back to normal, maybe someday. So any donation greatly helps. And for that, I thank you. So with that being said, folks, we do got music by Jesse Jet. Jesse Jet, who's number one in the hood in my book. All right. You know, I think Jesse Jet's number one in the hood. So without further ado, we got music by Jesse Jet. So everyone hit the like button before you leave. Be sure to keep being awesome as you should all the time, every time. And I'll see all you lovely, beautiful people on the flip side. Music by Jesse Jet. I'll see you guys sharp tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp in the mornings. Apologies for not doing the show in the morning today. I am very sorry. I am so sorry. But also, if you are on Rumble, Kick, or X, I promise you a special end credit, okay? Because you know what? I think I'm going to give a special end credit for people exclusively, because I know YouTube is no fun anymore. I know YouTube can be no fun, but if you stay around, if you stay around, I promise you a fun end credit on Kick, on X, and on Rumble. But I need you to believe in me. I need you to believe in me, okay? Believe, because why? You'll get the joke. You'll get the joke. Because I think it's worthwhile. So let's go ahead and enjoy the music. Music by Jesse Jet. Take good care of yourselves and each other. I'll see all you lovely, beautiful people on the flip side. See you around. Much love and peace. 9 a.m. tomorrow. You better show up or else.
Land of the free, and you'll know us by the trail of dead. It's just one more world war to complete the set. When you live by the pike, you die by the pith. You die wide-eyed, still pleading the fifth, or crying divine epithets and pathetic attempts at defense. All empathetic for those on your side of the fence. Well, I'll gladly put you and your legacy into an alternate tense of faltering senses and altered events. Like hun, it ain't a hearse, it's a reaper's stretch. Ah, how sweet, she said. Bunch of hordes in the street like it's Evil Dead. Where the thin blue line meets razor's edge. And where the corporate ladder ascends to a steel-toed boot that awaits on the ledge. You'll be licking it fresh at your boss's request till it stomps each finger and watches you fall to your death. And drown in an ocean of debt. Gone with the fodder who gathered to honor the patient left, who purity tested themselves into sections, step by step, till the next election, when it's just one them and the sound of their well-read theorized breath. That's harm reduction for the lowly cost of you holding your nose and just openly buying the theft. Maybe that's all in the flick of the pen. Maybe we're all one unmarked van from a trip to the pen. Being guarded by pigs who exist on a diet of dying breaths of much worthier men. Honey, heaven's expecting you. Just don't get too hung up on who they let in. Just look up at the shine of the pearly gates. You don't need to worry if there's lead in the paint. You don't need to worry if there's lead in the water, lead in the milk, lead in the honey, lead in the caustic embrace of the Heavenly Father. Lead is the flavor of passive perpetual slaughter. Lead is the taste of us led to the ledge by the lure of the legend of expert consensus, and then beckon to stretch it just one step farther. And I hope all the folks who were boastfully gloating and toasting themselves as the heroes of COVID for boosting their boosters and doing their part are now equally thrilled to be starstruck martyrs. All laid in a government grave with anonymous markers, like you're back from the carvers and off to the splicer. You're the very first wave to be slain in the war against Pfizer. That 100 years war against Pfizer. They are thinning the crowd that is striking right now to bleed adequate pay from those inhuman misers, who all sit in their office and designate coffins to people regarded as nothing but profit for Kaiser. Still the Dems want you nicer. Dems want you softer. Dems want you kinder. Yeah, they all want you graciously starving in silence. You will speak when you're spoken to. Rest of the time, you and all of us peasants are merely depressing statistics neglected in Congress's binders. All bled, bone dry, then fed to the grinder. Our headstones line each step as reminders. That's a lesson in object permanence learned in the furnace by workers consigned to the fire. Workers bled, bone dry, then fed by the fed to the grinder. Fed by the fed to the grinder. Now the fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your size unsad, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, and it dines on the dead. Now the fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, then it dines on the dead. And the fed went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs unread. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, bleeds you dry, then dines on the dead. The fed lead went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs on red. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, then it dines on the dead. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. Here's where our leaders would see us all led. The pen went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs on red. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside and you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your wealth into bread for itself, then it bleeds you dry, then it dies on the dead. That went straight to your head. Mind what you hide and your size unsaid, and your eyes turn blind to the signs on red. Flag bright red, so you let it in bed. You let it inside, you'll see that it's fed. Never you mind that it grinds your mind, that it grinds yourself, that it bleeds you dry, that it dies on the dead. Here's where our leaders would see us all led.
I don't know what.